Hi, and welcome to the marketing show for writing coaches. In this program, I sit down with the best marketing experts so that you, the writing coach, can focus on what is really important, setting up a reliable marketing strategy without the overwhelm. My name is Anne, and I help writing coaches get more clients. My guest today is a photographer and a brand strategist for online businesses. She believes in the power of branding to convey a message and an emotion and to invite your writers into your world. Get ready to be blown away by Malak Laraki from Maraki Studio and completely out of Paris. Hi, Malak. How are you?
Hi, I'm very good. How are you, Anne?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you so much to join us. I am sure that we are all very excited to get to learn more about the secrets of having good pictures of ourselves to put on the website. Um, but first of all, so you specifically focus on entrepreneurs. Can you explain us why exactly on entrepreneurs?
Yes, of course. I've noticed that there's this whole new wave of entrepreneurs these days that are starting everything from scratch, from their phone, from social media. They can start a business from their own home. And the only kind of photos, the only kind of professional photos that people could have gotten so far were the very cliche LinkedIn photos where you're standing against a blank wall wearing a suit with a very serious look on your face, crossing your arms, and that was your headshot, basically. There
And
was
let's
not
not forget the power look.
exactly, yeah, and there was nothing that type of photo just doesn't media and this new way of communicating about your business. So there was nothing that worked with this new wave of entrepreneurs. And I saw that there was this gap in the market and decided to cater specifically to online businesses and to this new generation of entrepreneurs. Um, I also just believe so much in personal branding. I believe in creating a connection, showing your face and having people buy from you because they get to know you and not just because of your product or because of your price. Obviously, having the headshots that we used to have back in the day doesn't create that connection as easily. And personal branding photography includes more of a relaxed lifestyle feeling to the photos, and that helps to build that connection. Also, in general, for anyone who's going to be using social media, the algorithm will ask you for photos, videos. So if you're just going to be posting lots of text, it will be very hard to grab people's attention. They are scrolling all day long, they're bombarded with content, and you need to have something that is going to stop the scroll for them. And that usually comes from a picture, and more specifically a picture that shows any human feature. So if it's a face or even just a hand, that like the human brain automatically will pause and be attracted to that. So that's why I decided to do this type of photography for entrepreneurs to help them grow their business.
Yes, because the way you talk about it, there's so many aspects that we don't think about, like the fact that you do need to have like a picture in on your social media to attract the attention of the people who scroll, but also the algorithm. That is not something I really thought about. So
Yes, yeah. The algorithm so far, I would say up until 2020, 2021, would focus more on photography and just photos in general. But now more and more, there's video as well. So I encourage everybody to include both photos and videos in their communication.
So that is a thing that our writing coaches should think about doing. But maybe we can take a step back and focus on what they should not be doing when they talk about their pictures for their website, their social media. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. There are so many things that you don't want to do. I'm going to start with the obvious the obvious things that you need to avoid on your website. And I would say the first one is to not have any picture of yourself, not have any photo of your face on your website. I understand that for some people choose to not show themselves. They can run an entire business without ever showing themselves. And if that's a decision, then fine. But if your final client is going to see you, let's say you're meeting in person, or you're doing Zoom calls all the time, they're going to see you, then I highly encourage people to have a photo of themselves on the website from the get-go, so that people can see who they're dealing with, basically. Not having a photo on the website makes it hard to know who we are talking to and who we might be giving our money to. So tip number one, it's very obvious, but try to have a picture of your face on your website.
Yeah, I guess that also helps, like, to build that first connection, which you might not have if there's nothing, if there's no personal face on your website.
Definitely. And people can combine all the copy on your website, all the text, plus how you describe your offers, plus your photo, plus all these little details. That's how they will be able to identify with you or not, and then choose to work with you or not.
Yeah. So tip number one, a picture of yourself.
Yes. Another one that is very obvious, if you're going to be using photos, whatever kind of photos, don't use blurry photos. Just that makes everything look less professional and a bit more cheap. So make sure you have high quality photos on your website.
When we talk about blurry photos, does that mean that the face is blurred out or the background is blurred out?
I would say no, because blurry photos could be an artistic decision. So you can have blurry photos that are looking really good. I mean more specifically pixelated photos where you can tell it's been stretched out or resized so many times that it just doesn't look good anymore. It's hard to really read the image. So those are the photos that you're going to try to avoid as much as possible. Okay. Another one that I see so often is people using too much or even only free stock photos on their websites. And the issue is that some stock photos are so overused. We see them over and over and over again. And using too many free stock photos, that will just make your website lack personality, look very impersonal. It's like, it feels empty. It lacks some soul. And at the end of the day, that makes a website look almost like a fake website, like it's like a scam website. It's hard to know who's behind it, who's behind that business, who are we going to be giving our money to. It's too general. It's not specific enough, basically. But if you're going to be using, and that's my next tip, if you're going to be using any stock photos, don't just choose a photo just because it looks pretty. I know that we're looking for good photography, something that would look good for our business and for our website. But if you choose a picture just because it looks pretty, it might just not make any sense. So I'll give you an example. If you are using a pretty picture of a Parisian street or a Parisian building on your website, but then your business has nothing to do with Paris, you are not based in Paris, your client is not based in Paris, your offer has nothing to do with Paris, it just doesn't make any sense. So what you want to do is choose photos that will add on to your message. Photos that illustrate whatever you are describing on your website, and add them also strategically, like throughout the page, depending on what paragraph, what you're describing in each paragraph. So try to always connect the image to the text.
Yeah.
I also wanted to add something about using free stock images. If you're gonna use them, like, you could take it further even more and choose photos that actually match your brand color palette. Because then when you do that, it makes it look more intentional, and it brings everything together in the website, and it makes everything look so much more cohesive. And it gives off less that feel of, oh, it's a free stock images. It's just something found online that maybe makes no sense with the website. And it makes you just look so much more professional and gives you more credibility, basically.
Yeah, and you are still using the free picture. So it's not like you have to have your face all over the place. You can still do a mix between the stock pictures and pictures of yourself. But I guess also as a photographer, when you do a session, you will not only take pictures of someone's face,
Oh, no.
that you also think about doing other kind of
Yeah,
pictures.
yes. And that's what I tell my clients. Actually, the goal of a photo shoot is to also create their own stock photos. So photos that are usually stock photos don't include any human element. Sometimes they do, but it won't be a face. It would be just a hand or something like that. I mean, at least that's the ones that we choose to use on our website. The ones that will include a face might make even less sense with our businesses, you know. They look very much like a commercial or something like that. So what I tell my clients is we are going to create not only photos of you, portraits, things that like photos that will make your client able to see what you do and who you are, but we're also going to create your stock images that you're going to be able to implement everywhere on your website, on social media, on a PDF guide if you're selling that or giving it for free. So the goal is to have close-ups, detailed shots, wider shots, shots where there's human elements, shots where there's no human element, but we will always make it very clear that these are specific to your business. We will include your colors. We might include some props that are typical to what you do or to who you are. And that will become your own gallery of free stock images.
Okay, so that is really something to ask then when a writing coach contacts a photographer. Is there going to be this aspect of having those stock images?
Yes, always ask for variety. You don't want to have just photos of your face. How many times are we going to be able to use those photos? I mean, it's nice to have a portrait or two, but you want a lot of variety. You want some portraits that are going to be very close up and some that show more of the background and the environment around you. Some detail shots, a bit of everything. That's what you're going to really need for your business.
You mentioned props. So we're talking here about writing coaches, and one thing that comes back a lot is that when they contact the photographer will tell them, "Oh, let's have shots with 10,000 books. Let's have shots in a library." Is it really mandatory that as a writing coach we have 10,000 pictures of us with books?
I mean, it is gonna be the obvious choice. It's gonna be the first idea that comes to mind when you think of having a visual representation of your business and of what you do. But if it is obvious to you, it's going to be obvious to everybody, and it's going to be obvious to your competitors as well. So that means you won't really stand out if all you do is having photos of yourself with books around you or pen and paper in hand and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with it though. So you can definitely have these types of photos. They tell straight away what you do. They're useful, so fine, you can totally use them. But one thing I highly encourage all of my clients to do, and that doesn't apply only to people who are in the beginning stages of their businesses. It's also it doesn't apply only to people who are advanced in their businesses, but also the ones who are in the beginning stages. I always recommend to stop showing what you do and start showing who you are. So you don't want to have photos that are just showing, oh, I work with books, I work with writers, I work as a writing coach. And so there's those obvious elements that you want to have in your photos. You don't want to do just that. You also want to have some photos that show who you are, your personality, what you do on a daily basis. You might not even need to include not a single book, not a single pen. You can include flowers if you want to. You can include a latte in hand or whatever. That's something that shows who you are, the things you like to do. It's more natural and less stiff, less staged, you know?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm thinking because you talked to me about during our preparatory chat about a writer you took pictures of,
Yes.
and that was also one of the challenges you had on that writer. Should she, exactly like you say, have only pictures with the books, the library, the paper and pen? Can you talk a little bit more about that session?
That was a special session because we had limited time, and it's not one of the sessions that I do with my clients where we have this whole time to prepare in advance. It's one of those mini sessions that I offer, so the process is a little bit different. She came in with her books, but she said, I don't want to be holding the book. I don't want to have a paper and a pen and be writing down to represent what I do. So we did 1 or 2 photos with those books, but the books were just stacked and put like on a table next to her. She was not even looking at them. She was not even touching them. It was just there. And then all the rest of the photos were just about her. The rest of the photo shoot, we ditched completely the books and we focused on representing her, showing her face, showing her personality as best as we could, having some power poses as well. I like to include that. I feel like a lot of people they shy away from those, and they try to have always something in hand, always something that is kind of reassuring. You just hold something and you kind of look away, or you look at whatever you have in your hands, and then there's no straight look into the camera. But yeah, we did a bit of that as well. And back to what I said, showing what you do and not showing what you do, but more of who you are. At the end of the day, that's true personal branding. You really want to connect with you, not just with what you do and what you have to sell. So yeah.
Because I was going to add, as a writer coach who works with a writer, it's a very personal and emotionally charged relationship. They really need to be comfortable and know who they work with. So it's an excellent way, like you say, to have those personal pictures showing who they are, not just what they do, so that the writer immediately can know, okay, this is someone that I really can share my story with, and who can really help me to finish that book.
Yeah. I wanted to add something about the previous question, the things not to do. There were a couple more that I think are necessary to have in mind. It's to think about resizing your images before you use them, because there's nothing worse than a slow website. And if you do a photo shoot with a professional photographer, more specifically, you're guaranteed to have super large files, like high definition. And it's great because you're going to need them for different types of projects, or you might want to print some and use some on social media and stuff like that. But when it comes to your website, you have to resize them. Otherwise, it's just going to be too big and take too long to load. So if you want to lose a visitor, make your website slow. That's going to be the best.
That was okay. First tip, how to lose your customers.
Exactly. And then I will also add, avoid an inconsistent style on your website. So that means, let's say you have 3-4 images on your homepage. One of them is super dark, the next one is super bright, and then the next one has blue undertones, and it's all just completely mismatched. Try to avoid that, because when you do have a consistent style, then it makes everything look more cohesive, more thought through. It just looks so much better at the end of the day. And that's why I say, it just makes sense then to use a professional photographer, because then you're guaranteed to have everything in the same style. If you're always using the same professional photographer, even better. You always have your photos following the same style. So that's another tip for you. And then, of course, avoid photos with the crazy filters. That just goes with it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You made an interesting remark on trying to work always with the same photographer, because do you mean that you should, for example, renew your pictures, I don't know, every 6 months to a year, or?
I highly believe in this. I highly believe that you cannot just do one shoot and then you're done. Especially, and I've noticed that with my clients, especially because when you do your first ever photo shoot, no matter how well you're going to be guided by your photographer, you're going to discover on the day of the shoot and the few days after that, you're going to discover, oh, okay, that's a photo I could have done. That's something I could have used for my next course that I'm coming up with. that's something that's missing from the gallery of photos that I have now. And maybe I could have tried this pose. Maybe I could have tried this outfit instead. You're always going to think of some new things that you want to do. And I mean, obviously, let's say you're doing your shoot in the summer, you might not want to use those photos later in the year when it's a bit darker, a bit cooler, and it's winter. So you might need to have a variety of photos also to follow the seasons. And what I tell my clients, it's you follow not only the seasons like of the year and of nature, but also the seasons of your business. Because when you get started, let's say as obviously as a writing coach, let's say, and you have one specific key offer that you sell, but then over the months, you decide to include a new offer or something completely new, a new concept, and you don't even have the images to represent that. You might add more people to your team. I mean, who knows? And then maybe you want to have this team with you on your next photo shoot. There's always something that you're going to need to represent. And if you're going to use your photos not only on your website but also on social media, you can't use the same photos over and over again on social media. You need to renew yourself, because people who are going to be following you on social media, they will be bored of always seeing the same thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I do see a lot of people. I'm very active on LinkedIn that indeed will use always the same pictures over and over again. Can they take the same picture, for example, and rework a little bit? Let's imagine they have a photo shoot and the photographer is a bit less prepared than you. And so they have only 10 pictures, for example, and they can't have another session immediately in the next 6 months. Can they take the same picture but change it a little bit? Or wouldn't you advise that?
What do you mean by take the same pictures and change them?
Like, for example, a picture of myself. I have a photo shoot and I got 4 pictures of myself and that's it. Can I use that same picture? Maybe, remodify, resize, I don't know.
I mean, when you receive your photos, I know that people in general, they will use them as is, or they will use them, remove the background and use only the subject for like a profile picture or something like that. A lot of people do this where they have, they like delete the background and then they add like just a single color that goes with the color palette of the brand as a background. I mean, in general, I encourage you to make the most out of your photos. So let's say you have a photo of yourself where you're sitting on a chair and you're holding something in your hand, and the photo goes from a little bit above your head to your hip. I will say use it as is, but also use it, zoom in certain areas. Maybe you want to zoom in only on your face, maybe only on whatever you have, you're holding in your hand. I mean, you can crop them however you want to make the most out of your photos. But then I think there will always be a point where you will have completely used up your photo and you will need to have a new photo shoot. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, because that is indeed something that we might not always think about. So you gave us a lot of information on what not to do, but can you tell us what we should be doing with our pictures?
What you should be doing with your pictures. Do you mean before the photo shoot or after the photo
before shoot? Yeah, actually, I'm sorry, my question was probably not clear. Yeah, so it was really like what. So we talked about what writing coach should not do. So what should they do? Well, there we go.
Yeah. What they should do before they do their photo shoot.
Yes, exactly. Before or even during. I think we talked a lot about after, but what can we do before or during to make sure that we really have the best photo session?
I mean, tip number 1 is to prepare your photo shoot as best as you can. You can completely rely on your photographer and think, oh, I just booked a photographer. I just paid for this service. So I'm just going to show up and the photos are going to be great. I mean, they could be good, but they could also make no sense with your business. They would be just pretty images then, So you have to prepare your photo shoot very thoroughly. Think of all the details. What are you going to wear? how many outfits, where are you going to do your photos, how many locations you're going to go to. Think of a mood board. Think of your hair and makeup, your accessories. You might want to prepare a shot list of specific photos that you need. Your props, obviously. So preparing all of that in advance is going to guarantee you to have a successful photo shoot in the end. And a successful photo shoot. Yeah, sorry.
Is this something that you could maybe discuss with your photographer as well, or what if the photographer doesn't do that? Is there somewhere where we can get a list or something of what we should do, or how we can best prepare our photo shoot?
I mean, you have to choose your photographer wisely, because some photographers are going to be specialized in personal branding, and they will guide you every step of the way. They will tell you and ask you the right questions and tell you everything you need to do and what you need to prepare and what you should think of before you get to the actual photo shoot. And then some photographers don't specialize in this. They might not have such a detailed process. So think of how you want to be accompanied throughout this decision of getting a brand photo shoot for your business. Sorry, what was the question again?
No, that's actually the reply to the question, because for me, when you start telling me, think about what to wear, what to do, bring your pop, it can seem very overwhelming, but the response to the question and making sure that you are not overwhelmed by your photo shoot is, first of all, already address yourself to someone who's specialized in personal branding, who works with entrepreneurs, who knows what we're talking about. Because if it's a good personal branding photographer, if I understand well, this is a part of their package. It should not be like you schedule today and you show up and there's no communication between the moment you sign your contract and the moment you show up.
Yes, of course. That's the big difference between, I will say, this is not to degrade anyone, but I will say a standard photographer, someone that specializes in something else and that will give you a brand photo shoot. And the difference between that and a brand photographer is going to be all the process that they will put in place for you to guarantee you to have a successful photo shoot. All this preparation, you don't just book your photographer, pay them, decide on a date, and then show up.
Yeah. Okay.
Then you're gonna end up with, like, definitely you're gonna have pretty photos, but not photos that will be very helpful for you. So usually during brand photo shoots, we do the most in the least amount of time. So we're gonna have, let's say, a couple of hours or half a day or a full day, and you're gonna do several locations, several outfits, different setups, different things that you want to show. And you go through all of that in advance with your photographer to make sure that everything's perfectly organized. Anything.
Okay. So tip number 1, choose well your photographer. I would say that's even tip number 0. Before tip number 1, prepare. Yeah. Tip number 0, choose well your photographer and ask that question: what is the preparation? How will you help me to prepare as best my photo shoot?
Yeah, I mean, also because so many people are just not comfortable with being photographed. And I would say 99% of my clients, they tell me, I am not photogenic. I don't like photos. I never look good on photos. So choosing your photographer wisely is going to guarantee you that you will have a better result than what you've been having the last few years when you're just taking photos with your family or your friends or something like this.
And you touch upon a very important aspect, is that 99% of us tell, yes, we're not photogenic. So have you a couple of tips on how we can be better prepared, or like be more comfortable the day of the shoot?
Well, first of all, I want to say it is very natural to feel like this. And again, 99% of my clients tell me the same thing. But I don't believe in the concept of not being photogenic. To me, there's either the good photographer or the bad photographer. The bad photographer is going to be your friend, your sister, someone that is going to snap a random picture and you're going to look your worst at that moment. And then the good photographer knows your angles. They know how to make you look good. They know how to choose the right light, how to frame the picture. So with a good photographer, there's no way you cannot look good on photos. That's why I really don't believe in the concept of being photogenic or not being photogenic. Again, like what tips I have for you to feel more relaxed, more comfortable during your shoot. Back to what I said before, choose your photography wisely. That's going to be number one. Because you're just very guided, very guided. And then preparing everything in advance. I already described that before, but mood boards, outfits, locations, hair and makeup, props, everything like that. That's gonna take such a load off your shoulders on the day of the shoot. You won't have to stress about all of these details. You already know that everything's planned, organized, and then you can fully trust your photographer on the day of the shoot and just come with everything that you have prepared. One thing I also like to do, especially if we're gonna do an indoors photo shoot, I like to play some music. That just makes everything feel so much more comfortable. It could be a random playlist, or it could be a playlist that that my client chooses. It just helps to avoid having that quiet moment where it's just you and your photographer in a quiet room and trying to take your photos, and it's so awkward and uncomfortable. Playing some music, that really, really helps to relax everybody and put you in the mood. Something that I do with all my clients, but maybe if your photographer doesn't do it, you go ahead and ask them to show you some photos as you go throughout the shoot, some photos on the back of their camera. So then you can see what you look like. It will reassure you. You will see like what's actually happening. You're not just randomly posing in front of someone. You really see the result. It will boost your confidence because most likely you're going to see that it looks good, you're doing well. And then it will also give you the opportunity to adjust as you go, because if you spot something you don't like, something that doesn't work for you, something you're uncomfortable with, you would just tell it straight away to the photographer so they have it in mind and they do the rest of the shoot with your recommendations in mind.
Okay. So for example, if I don't like my left side, I can say, please only do my right side.
Yeah, or try to take your right side in a different way. Or I don't know, I get this one a lot. I don't like my double chin. Oh, okay. So I'm going to try to take your photos a little bit more above eye level, so you don't get this double chin showing too much on your photos. So yeah, just tell them what you like, what you don't like, what you're self-conscious about, and they will keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I might maybe add, don't wait until the end of the session as well.
Oh my God, yes. Oh yeah. Otherwise, you're just gonna be very frustrated. You're gonna go home thinking, oh my God, I didn't like this session. It didn't work for me. Just feel free. That was gonna be my next tip. Feel free to communicate clearly with your photographer. They're there to help you. They are there to do the best job for you. So just let them know, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. Oh, I got this idea while we were taking this photo. Maybe we can try this, maybe we can try that. Just feel free to talk to them. Communicate clearly with them. And then my last tip, and that's probably the best one, my favorite one, be in the moment and take it all in, because you're basically the star of the day. So just follow the instructions of your photographer, really feel what you're doing and have fun with it. That's gonna give you the best photos in the end.
Yeah, be the star of the day.
Of course, yeah. I tell that to my clients all the time.
Oh, thank you so much, Malak, because this is a really very useful tip. So if I just to do a little resume, so your tip is 1, choose well your photographer. Tip 2, prepare everything in advance. Tip 3, communicate. And tip 4, be in the moment.
And have music on your shoot.
And have music on your shoot. Yes, exactly. But if you're indoors, outdoors, even outdoors,
Yeah, of course. And then the other one, which is so important, ask your photographer to show you photos on the back of their camera. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that should give you a good and comfortable photo shoot with pictures that you're happy and proud about.
Yes, and you know what's going on all throughout the shoot. You know that you're slowly progressing to the result that you want. So there's no mystery of like, oh, what are these photos going to look like when because obviously you go home, you don't get your photos straight away. You're going to have to wait a couple of weeks. For some people, it's more than a couple of weeks. So you want to leave being completely confident that you are going to have the right photos for yourself. You're happy with what you just did there.
Yeah. And I think it's probably important as also to remind what you said earlier, that we shouldn't the way we're going to take the pictures is going to change. So not to be too perfectionist as well. If we have this photo shoot and there are things we want to change, knowing that there's a next one that we can do. So that it's not the end of the world to not have immediately 40 perfect pictures, because they don't have a lifelong span.
Exactly. I've had a few cases of people who want to fit way more than we can in just one photo shoot. Just know that you are going to have more shoots anyway. That's guaranteed. You're going to want to, and you're going to want to do them in a different setting than the one you have on this first shoot. You want to have them in a different setting with completely different season, different outfits, a different style for your hair. Who knows? So no need to include too much in that one session and try to fit in more than you actually can, or more than what have been planned in advance. And that's, again, I'm going to say that's one thing not to do, is to go, to go out of what has been really planned with your photographer. That's one thing that might completely ruin your shoot. It's if you spend so much time thinking through everything with your photographer and preparing everything in detail, and then on the day of the shoot, you're like, oh, I actually decided to change a couple of outfits. Instead of this, I brought this. Instead of that, I brought that. And oh my God, the look on your photographer's face if you do that. Because when we choose the location and the colors and the outfits together, we do them in a way where, like, if I do it with my clients, I know I will recommend an outfit because that outfit will match so well specific location and so well with this message that we're trying to send. And there's really a lot of thinking, a lot of strategy in that. So changing everything, thinking, oh, it's just a detail, I can change this outfit, that might really ruin the result in the end.
That is actually also a good tip, not to put too much in the photo session. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Malak, I would really like to talk hours for you, because you seem to have such a knowledge that you could share with us about photography, but we do need to wrap up. So one last question for you. If a writing coach wants to improve their pictures right now, what is an easy, simple way to do so?
Number one, include more movement in your photos. A lot of photos where you are going to be posed can make you look a bit stiff. And I feel like we tend to think of professional photos as photos where we are going to be superposed. And yes, and that works, but then include as much movement as you can. That makes you look more real and more like a real living person that people can connect to. Also, don't be afraid to, I'm going to give you a couple here because I was thinking of, if you want, don't be afraid to have a power pose where you're looking straight into the camera. And don't rely too much on your accessories. And my last one, which I think potentially is the best one, don't be afraid of getting creative and trying something a bit unexpected, a bit out of the box, or even a little crazy. So if you're going to be using photos, if you're going to be using books in your photos, which could be something very cliche, very expected of you as a writer or a writing coach, maybe instead of just holding the book in your hand or having a stack of, like, a pile of books next to you, how about you just throw them in the air and they're flying around you? And that's a fun picture where you're in the center and there are books around you in the background. That's going to be more creative and more fun. So, like, think of more creative ways to represent what you do and who you are at the same time, and discuss it with your photographer, of course.
Thank you so much, Malak. So if someone is interested of working with you, where can they find you?
They can find me on my website, marakistudio.com, and on my Instagram, which is also at Maraki Studio. I'm also on YouTube. I share sometimes some behind the scenes, a few clips of things I do with clients. So yeah, it's the same name everywhere, Maraki Studio.
I will anyway include the links in the show notes. So if you're interested in getting contacted her, go into the show links. You also have a little treat for the French-speaking viewers, which is a masterclass on secrets to have a successful photo shoot. For that, they go on your website and sign up for your email list, right?
Exactly. That's a free masterclass, Secrets of a Successful Photo Shoot. And this video is in French, but it's actually, I put it on YouTube. So maybe you can have some automated captions if you want to try and watch it in different language.
Yeah, that is always a great tip if you're interested and you want to learn even more on how to best prepare your photo shoot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Malak. That's it. It's a wrap. I hope you really loved this episode and that you now know how to successfully prepare your photo shoot. As a reminder, Malak gave us a couple of tips, which were to choose well your photographer, prepare everything in advance, play some music, ask your photographer to share some pictures, communicate with your photographer, and be in the moment. If you like this episode and you want the next one straight in your email box, don't forget to subscribe for the weekly newsletter for writing coaches. You will find the link in the comments. If you are already subscribed to the newsletter, feel free to share this with another writing coach. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope this has been useful, and I see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.